There's a subtle, unsettling shift happening in how food reaches us. What used to feel dependable, like a well-oiled machine, now reveals cracks that are hard to ignore. Once common items are vanishing from shelves, not with loud announcements or dramatic shortages, but quietly, like they're slipping off the map. The changes are so faint, many barely notice them, but if you've looked closely, you've seen it too. Most of us shrug it off, assuming these gaps are temporary hiccups caused by weather, supply chain delays, or fleeting local issues. But when these hiccups snowball and linger, week after week, it begins to tell a very different story. The real problem isn't just missing products, it's the hidden unraveling of the systems we've relied on to make sure food is accessible in the first place. The scaffolding that supports this promise of abundance is quietly eroding, and almost no one is talking about it. This isn't about paranoia or fear, but taking a good, hard look at a fragile reality that's being brushed aside. What's disappearing isn't just food, it's trust in the stability we've taken for granted for so long. And the question remains, why are they keeping this under wraps? 1. Whispers of hunger. Food shortages don't always make the news with dramatic headlines. They creep in quietly, almost unnoticed. It starts with rising prices, smaller packages on shelves, or favorite items disappearing. These changes might seem small, but they're early signs of a deeper crisis. A silent shift is underway, often called a quiet breakdown of the food supply system. The issue isn't just about what's missing today, it's about a fragile system under growing pressure. Climate change is a major culprit, turning once predictable weather into an erratic, often destructive force. Droughts are drying up rivers and farmlands, floods are wiping out harvests, and heat waves are reshaping agricultural regions. Farmers everywhere are facing smaller yields, failed seasons, and pest outbreaks thriving in the changing climate. Geopolitics is making things worse. Conflicts like the war in Ukraine ripple far beyond borders. Ukraine and Russia, key exporters of grain, sunflower oil, and fertilizers, have seen their supply chains collapse. Countries relying on these imports face soaring prices and vanishing supplies. Beyond war, trade restrictions, export bans, and economic rivalries are clogging global supply chains. One disruption can create worldwide ripples. Energy is another pressure point. Modern agriculture relies heavily on fuel, from powering tractors to producing fertilizers and processing food. When fuel prices spike, as they have repeatedly, the cost of growing, shipping, and selling food skyrockets. Wealthier countries see higher prices, but poorer regions face food slipping out of reach, leaving millions without. Meanwhile, global demand keeps climbing. Populations are growing, especially in cities that rely on long-distance food transport. Diets are shifting too, with more people consuming calorie-intensive foods. Supply chains are overstretched, warehouses are understocked, and reserves are dwindling. These stresses build slowly, creating a false sense of stability. Governments see the warning signs: falling reserves, rising hunger, volatile imports. But without immediate chaos, action is often delayed. By the time the crisis becomes obvious, it's often too late. Empty shelves aren't just a supply issue. They reflect systems struggling to deliver food where it's needed. Over time, people adapt to these changes, numbed to the growing crisis beneath the surface. But adaptation has limits. The combined weight of climate, politics, and economics is pushing cracks toward collapse. This isn't a distant problem. It's happening now. And the whispers of hunger are growing impossible to ignore. 2. The domino effect. Food insecurity doesn't respect borders. What starts as a local disruption quickly spreads, impacting the entire globe. This isn't just about temporary price hikes or shortages. It's the breakdown of a fragile, interconnected system, struggling under mounting pressures. Global food prices for essentials like rice, wheat, corn, and cooking oil have risen sharply, creating severe challenges for millions. In countries where families spend most of their income on food, these price spikes turn into a crisis. For many, it's no longer about budgeting, it's about survival. Hunger becomes an immediate, devastating reality. Even wealthier nations feel the strain. Families in developed economies are turning to cheaper, less nutritious options or relying on food banks and government aid. In Japan, known for its self-sufficiency in rice, erratic weather and surging demand have caused shortages. Supermarkets are limiting purchases, and emergency reserves are being used to ease the strain. This reflects a global pattern. No nation is exempt from food system vulnerabilities. Europe faces rising energy costs, labor shortages, and disrupted fertilizer supplies, driving up production expenses. Countries dependent on imported grains, fruits, and vegetables are struggling as reliable sources falter. Climate change only adds to the challenge, with droughts, floods, and unstable weather destroying crops and making long-term agricultural planning nearly impossible. In the United States, droughts in California and the Midwest are leaving fields barren, slashing yields and threatening exports. Rising input costs, water shortages, and erratic weather are overwhelming farmers. Large retailers are scrambling to restructure supply chains and boost emergency reserves. But these are temporary fixes, not long-term solutions. For import-dependent nations, the stakes are even higher. Countries with limited farmland, island nations, or those already facing economic instability often lose out when wealthier nations outbid them for supplies. Humanitarian organizations warn that this spiraling crisis is a ticking time bomb. Without drastic action to make food more affordable and accessible, the domino effect of food insecurity will worsen. Hunger is no longer a distant issue. It's a global crisis edging closer to everyone. 3. Preparedness is the new normal. What was once seen as eccentric is now mainstream. Prepping, once relegated to the fringes of society, has become a practical response to growing concerns about food security. It's no longer about doomsday bunkers or survival fantasies. It's about ordinary people taking deliberate steps to ensure stability for themselves and their families. Across cities, suburbs, and rural areas, people are building food reserves, learning to store supplies long-term, and preparing for empty shelves. This shift began during the global pandemic when supply chain disruptions left stores without staples like rice, flour, and pasta, turning prepping into something logical and necessary. Stockpiling canned goods, buying chest freezers, and researching vacuum sealing became common household activities. The war in Ukraine amplified this behavior. Disruptions to grain and fertilizer exports caused soaring prices and food shortages. Governments warned of possible supply interruptions, making preparation urgent. Retailers adapted, with big-box stores like Costco and Sam's Club reporting increased sales of bulk goods, freeze-dried meals, and water storage solutions. Items like Mylar bags, dehydrated foods, and emergency meal kits are now available at local supermarkets and online. Social media has also played a role, offering tutorials on pantry organization, rotation systems, and budget-friendly prepping tips, even from influencers who usually focus on lifestyle content. Today's prepping community is remarkably diverse. It's no longer limited to rural survivalists. Urban professionals, parents, students, retirees, and health-conscious individuals are joining in. Some focus on organic or clean ingredients, while others see food reserves as a hedge against inflation. Many view prepping as a way to handle instability caused by natural disasters, economic uncertainty, or system failures. But modern prepping isn't just about stockpiling. It's about building resilience. People are learning skills like canning, dehydrating, and growing their own food, even in small urban spaces. Others invest in essentials like water filtration systems, portable stoves, or solar-powered generators. The movement is also becoming more community-oriented. Local co-ops, neighborhood gardens, and supply-sharing groups are fostering mutual support. Some even set aside stockpiles to help friends, neighbors, or vulnerable community members during emergencies. Prepping has shifted from something scoffed at to a recognition that the systems we rely on can falter. This cultural shift reflects a growing focus on self-reliance and adaptability. While no one knows when the next disruption will come, preparedness offers peace of mind. More than stockpiles, this mindset marks a significant change in how people safeguard their future. 4. Behind the scenes of preparedness. Governments worldwide are waking up to the growing vulnerability of food systems. The events of the last decade, including pandemics, wars, cyber threats, supply chain chaos, and climate disasters, have revealed how unprepared even the most developed nations are for major disruptions. Today, food security is no longer just about agriculture and economics. It's tied to national defense, emergency response, and public safety. Take the European Union's bold directive, for instance. Citizens are being instructed to maintain at least 72 hours of self-sufficiency. This includes stocking essential items like non-perishable food, clean water, basic medications, and emergency batteries. Far from casual advice, this is an official policy, signaling an expectation of future crises and encouraging households to function as the first line of defense. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, attention is being turned to something often overlooked in emergency planning: food diversity. The traditional model of emergency stockpiles, focused solely on calories and shelf life, is now under scrutiny. Experts are urging the UK government to consider dietary needs, ensuring access to vegetarian, halal, kosher, and allergen-free options during a crisis. It's not just about survival, but preserving dignity and cultural considerations under stress. Across much of Europe, nations are steering away from the precarious just-in-time food distribution model, which has proven to be a weak link in the face of global instability. Instead, they're adopting just-in-case strategies. This involves building emergency stockpiles, expanding cold storage facilities, and developing regional food hubs designed to distribute essentials locally during disruptions. The shift focuses on redundancy and domestic sourcing, making supply systems more flexible and resilient. Northern Europe has taken public preparedness to the next level. Germany and Sweden are actively educating citizens through national awareness campaigns, detailed handbooks, and mobile apps. These resources guide people on everything from food storage to emergency meal preparation, with the goal of reducing reliance on government resources during a crisis. Behind the scenes, governments are pushing for unprecedented coordination. Treating food as critical infrastructure, policies now incorporate agriculture, logistics, energy, cybersecurity, health, and national defense in unified response plans. Scenario-based drills are being conducted to test how systems would respond to cyber attacks, fuel shortages, or extreme weather events. While much of this preparation happens in silence, the stakes are undeniable. Political stability depends on food accessibility. Empty shelves lead to unrest, and no government wants to deal with the fallout of public panic. That's why stockpiles are quietly growing, emergency supply contracts are being preemptively signed, and international agreements are securing imports even in times of global scarcity. This isn't fear-mongering. It's a recognition that resilience starts with readiness. Governments once reliant on reactive measures are now trying to stay ahead of the storm. But as they quietly fortify their plans, it's clear that food security has become non-negotiable for maintaining stability in uncertain times. 5. Grassroots resilience. While governments plan sweeping strategies, local communities are quietly revolutionizing food security from the ground up. Faced with rising prices, bare shelves, and unpredictable supply chains, ordinary people are stepping in to build systems of resilience where national responses may fall short. Across cities, suburbs, and rural areas, grassroots efforts are transforming food access into a shared mission. One of the most powerful examples is the resurgence of community gardens. Abandoned lots and unused land are being turned into thriving food hubs, producing fresh, seasonal crops. These gardens do more than fill plates. They bring neighbors together, teaching vital skills like composting, planting, and food storage. Some areas have even created cooperative food zones, where entire blocks work collectively to grow and harvest. Food pantries are also stepping into more prominent roles. No longer just safety nets for the most vulnerable, they have modernized, with expanded refrigeration, delivery options, and 24/7 outdoor cabinets stocked by volunteers. Known as free pantries or community fridges, these decentralized solutions allow anyone to take or donate food as needed, reducing waste and increasing access. Preparedness groups are evolving rapidly too. These aren't the isolated survivalists of stereotype. Families, retirees, and urban residents are joining together, pooling resources through co-ops and sharing knowledge about long-term food storage methods like canning, fermenting, and vacuum sealing. Bulk purchasing is growing, enabling communities to stockpile essentials without breaking budgets. Local food networks are another game changer. Farmer-to-consumer systems, whether through CSAs, markets, or direct pickup programs, are providing alternatives to unpredictable supermarket supply chains. These initiatives bolster local economies while ensuring fresher, more reliable food options. Even schools and churches are getting involved. On-site gardens, meal programs, and volunteer-driven kitchens are turning faith and education hubs into pillars of food security during emergencies. Messaging apps and location-based tools are adding tech-savvy coordination to these efforts, enabling real-time updates on resources and opportunities. Grassroots resilience is transforming how communities weather crisis. These collective actions don't just complement national strategies, they redefine them, proving that real security starts locally, together. 6. Reimagining the future. The future of food security isn't just about how we grow and distribute food. It's about building systems that can endure an unpredictable world. With climate change, resource scarcity, and geopolitical tensions pressuring global food networks, survival hinges on bold, innovative solutions. One key focus is breaking free from globalized dependencies. Centralized supply models, while efficient, collapse quickly under stress. Reinvesting in local food systems is emerging as a practical alternative. Small-scale farms, urban agriculture, and strong regional supply chains help reduce reliance on long-haul transport and keep food closer to home, creating more resilient communities. Food is increasingly viewed as critical infrastructure, akin to energy and water. Governments are rewriting policies, crafting plans for fertilizer shortages, and running simulations to prepare for major disruptions. Digital innovations like AI-driven forecasting and blockchain for tracking food quality are being integrated to prevent waste, fraud, and contamination in real time. Storage solutions are also modernizing. Countries are building robust stockpiles not just of grains, but of shelf-stable, nutrient-rich foods and climate-resilient seeds that can jumpstart recovery after crises. Cold storage upgrades ensure perishable goods avoid spoilage, adding reliability to the system. Technology is reshaping how we grow food. Vertical farms, hydroponics, and lab-grown meat are becoming part of the conversation. These methods demand less land and water while keeping food production closer to urban centers, minimizing disruptions from distant supply chains. Consumers play a vital role as well. Governments and organizations are educating households about food preservation, waste reduction, and simple ways to grow food at home. These small, collective changes can strengthen overall resilience. Importantly, international cooperation is critical. Grain reserves, seed-sharing partnerships, and fair trade initiatives are paving the way for more sustainable global food dynamics. Supporting farmers in high-risk regions is essential, as their hardships can spark migrations and further disruptions. The path forward is clear. Resilience isn't just an abstract goal, it's a necessity. By rethinking food production, storage, and consumption through localized and global actions, we can create systems that thrive even in chaos.